Hi, I'm Nick and this is the TbT channel. This video is about the BSA Lightning, can also be about the BSA Supersport as they are virtually identical in mechanism. Now the BSA Lightning is a short break-barreled air rifle that should be perfect for short range hunting around buildings, around woodlands, things like that. It should be an ideal gun for that use. Unfortunately it isn't, or it isn't as good as it looks, put it that way. If it shot as well as it looked, especially the more modern synthetic ones, who would bother with anything else? Seriously, they're great guns. But what we're going to do today is a few videos taking it apart, looking to see what can be done, then rebuilding it. At the end of these 3 videos, it is my intention that all of us, myself included, will have a Lightning that is fit for purpose and shoots nicer than it did before. This particular one is in 25 caliber and it is currently running at 14.5 foot-pounds. Yeah, I believe it to be oversprung, it's overstrung, and it's just over jumpy. It's not very nice to shoot, so I want to bring it down to a sensible power with sensible cocking effort and sensible recoil, so that it is the gun that I go for if I have to go out and there's some rats or something to deal with at short range. This should be my go-to rifle. I want to make it that. Without any further ado, we're going to take it apart. I'm going to start off, I've already undone the stock screws, 2 at the front, 1 at the back, just to save a little bit of time. So, oh, that pops out of there. Pop the stock to one side. I've also undone the bolt in the top of the maxi rail there, which releases the plastic cover, which then allows you to take out the metal weight that's at the back here. I've done all of that just to save a little bit of time. But now we need to release the spring tension. Now, all of the spring tension is focused on this pin here. Up until now, the only kits I've been able to make for this that have been successful have been ones that reuse the steel guide and just put a decent top hat and spring in with them. I want to see if there's an alternative to doing that. If not, I'm going to experiment with spring lengths to find a kit that is simply drop in and go. So for this one, because I believe it to be oversprung, I'm going to use my spring compressor. My spring compressor is just a sash clamp that you could buy from anywhere really, tool bank, Screwfix, anything like that. They're not particularly expensive, and I've just screwed a piece of wood on the bottom so that when I put it on the workbench, everything is the right height and parallel. It's not flopping over to one side. The jaws of the sash clamp are nicely flush with the table, and everything is easy to operate. Now the way you operate this is it goes on the table like that, and you have your little turny handle off of the end, okay, so you can turn it freely. And what we're going to do is I'm going to pop a plastic lid there, just so that protects the end of the barrel from any marring. And at this end I've got my little Lightning doodad. Now I've not used this for many years. It's been a while since I've taken a Lightning apart. Yeah, probably at least 6 years since I've taken a Lightning apart. So if I get stuck halfway through, it's just because I can't remember what it is I'm supposed to be doing. But this is just a piece of acetal that I've turned down to fit inside inside of the body there, and it's got a notch out of it to fit around that pin that's holding everything. Okay, so that's just there, and that's what it's for. In the past, when I had a Supersport when they first came out, I'd have been 16, 17 years old, because I read an article in a magazine that said it was the best thing since sliced bread, and I believed it. But I remember using a broom handle that I'd cut a notch into, and then leaning against the shed door to push the pin to get it in there so that I could cram an ox spring in it. Oh dear, ox springs, do you remember them? Do you know some people still use them? Craziness. Right, so we're going to take up the tension, and what we want to do actually with this, because I think there's a lot of preload, is we want this to be down towards the end of its extent this way, so that when we let the pressure off, we've got a lot of space for the spring to expand into. So we're going to do that, and when we get to the right point, like that, I just touch the pin and it's dropped out. Bear with. The pin has literally dropped out. So that's that, put him to one side. So now all of that spring tension, it's probably going to be nothing when I get it off now, but all that spring tension is purely on the spring compressor. So what I'm going to do now, angling it away from myself actually, just to be safe, is let that tension off. As we unwind this, the spring is coming out with the spring guide around it. I'm just going to try and keep it all in a straight line to stop it from leaping off like an infuriated salmon. And there we go, I can feel the pressure's lessening off now, and now it's just dropped. So in fact, just move away my compressor. We shall see that when we get to rebuilding. That's if I get that far and don't just throw the lot in the bin. I wouldn't do that. I really want this gun to be good. So now we've got that out, that's how much preload there was. Less than I expected, but still more than you'd want to do by hand. So that comes out, and there we are. We have our spring guide and we have our spring. Next, I'm going to, what am I going to do next? I think I'm going to remove the barrel next. Let me just see if I can break the barrel. And now, with the aid of some tappage, I believe the pin should come out. Though I could be wrong. There's nothing holding that pin in, is there? As I say, it has been a number of years. I'm not joking about that part. Just straighten up my brass punch a little. Got heavy-handed with it earlier. I had a recalcitrant Norica. Do you remember those? Remember them? They're still making them. God knows why. Okay, that took a little bit more persuasion than I expected. But it came out. It was just stiff. It's going to be fun getting it back in there. So the barrel is now free of the breech, but what we need to do is get the cocking arm out, and then there's some kind of weird spring arrangement here. So ping that off of there, and our barrel is free. Now I'm just going to have a little brief look at the, not on taser, on torch, breech seal, because this was puffing out smoke towards the top. But no, it looks to be in good condition. It might just have been dieseling in extreme amounts. So that is our barrel free. We've got our spring free, and then this fell out, which, not seen that before. It must be a new thing, newish thing. Oh, newish, it's from the 90s. Which I assume if I take the spring out of there, this is some kind of two-piece guide where one piece went inside of the other, which was great. What a good idea, except it doesn't fit the spring and it's made of metal, so it's not isolating anything from metal contact, so it'll do nothing to soften the blow. Let's pop those to one side, and now we need to extract our piston, which means we need, I think, again, torch not taser, we need to get the maxi rail off, and that's keyed in, so that needs to be knocked downwards like that. So knocking downwards with and wooden block and piece of wood. Here's one. There we go. That was lucky. So I'm just going to put that there. I'm going to try tapping this down. Right, I'm just going to pause this again And after all that, it really wasn't that bad. Just use a little bit of a tap with a piece of plastic and away it came. Top tip, it goes towards the back. So hit it backwards and it will come off. Pop the maxi rail over there. Next we need to remove the piston, which will require a certain amount of persuasion, because there is a sear in our way. Right, I am again going to pop it on pause while I figure this one out, because there's nothing worse than watching a monkey trying to figure out how a washing machine works. And that's essentially what you're going to be watching while I try and remember how I get this sear out of here. So I shall come back and tell you. And I needn't have paused it, because it took me a couple of seconds after hitting the pause button. What it is you've got your trigger there, and you've got your anti-bear trap there, which is what is connected to your little wire doodad. So if you push that forwards, it enables you to pull the trigger, and if you pull the trigger, keep it pulled, and then using your favourite screwdriver, push the piston backwards, out he whooshes. So that is it. The gun is in pieces. I'm not going to take the trigger unit apart because I don't need to. We've got the barrel here, we've got the cylinder there, we've got the piston here, and we've got the mucky old spring over there. So join me in the next video where I shall show you what to do with it next. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, hit notifications, and I will speak to you very shortly.